everybody!
Hi. Happy Thursday.
Yep.
It is Thursday today.
Which is weird. It's a long weekend here, so I'm a little messed up this week. It doesn't help that we've been
Easter
doing...
for everyone? Just a stupid question. Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure that it's also a long weekend in the States.
Okay, well, hello, wherever you are. Happy long weekend to everyone.
Oh, goodness.
This is how today's going. This is how this week has been going.
Yeah.
It's been crazy going live every single day this week. It's been awesome, but I think every day's Friday. We do the live, and I'm like, oh, weekend.
I mean, you're generally confused about what day of the week it is, so
That
this
is
does
true.
not help at all.
That is very true.
Well, hopefully everyone is having a good day. We are having some beautiful weather here for Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
It is sunny. I walked outside in a t-shirt just now and I only froze a little bit. So it is a good day. It is nice out. It is sunny. And it's a holiday tomorrow. So
Exactly.
I guess this is kind of like our Furry Friday because we're not doing one tomorrow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Welcome. For everyone who is tuning in, it is day 4 of Raw Feeding 101, our first Hop University course. Today is our final day, which is super exciting. We've gone over a lot of stuff.
We
a
have.
lot of stuff. It's been awesome. We've had lots of awesome questions.
Hi, you can come in.
So to recap for anyone who hasn't been here for the last 3 lives, we started on Monday with Raw Feeding 101 and we busted some myths. So we went through some of the common misconceptions that people have heard or that we've heard about feeding raw. We went over some of the benefits of raw that day. Tuesday was day 2 and we went over what to expect. So if you're never tried raw before, you've never had anybody in your circle try raw before, we went over what to expect, how to prepare yourself and your pup for detoxing and for the immediate and long-term benefits of raw. On day 3, which was yesterday, I wasn't here. Bailey and Nicole filled you in on safe handling.
Yes, I know. The most exciting part is the safe handling. I hope everyone enjoyed it. We were very thrilled by it.
Yes. Well, I was saying I'm very happy Nicole was here, our in-house food safe certified staff member to
Do the safe handling.
Yeah,
she
to
was
do the
like the
lowdown.
perfect pick for it.
Yeah, exactly. We had high-class expertise yesterday for that day instead of having just me and Bailey here to stumble through
To ramble.
food safe. Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
what we do best. I am just going to say we had a question asking where we're located. We are in Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada.
Yes. So, if you are in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, you can always draw by the store.
How's it going?
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is a holiday. Do not forget me. But yeah. And then I also wanted to remind everybody about
prepared.
our workbook. So I'm sure we have mentioned it every day so far, but if you're just tuning in today, we do have a workbook online that you can get access to so you can follow along. Today is day 4, so let me flip to that page. So we have day 4, which you can follow along, you can take some notes, and then on the final page, oh my goodness gracious, Bailey leaves and everything falls apart. We have the notes and questions section at the very end, so you can jot down any of your questions, maybe that you had from day 1 till now, maybe any of those questions that you want to ask today, which we will be doing a Q&A, a short Q&A at the end today, because we know that it's been a lot of information for everybody for the first 3 days of everything. We want to make sure we give everyone a chance to ask those questions. Final housekeeping reminder is we have all of these videos now on YouTube. So day 1, 2, and 3 have already been uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you missed something, if you want to rewatch something, you can definitely go back to our YouTube channel. We started a playlist for Hop University, so that is where all of our Hop University things will be placed for you guys to check out, because there is a lot of information here. I talk way too fast, probably. So if you need to go to the YouTube video and make it a little bit slower as I work on my presentation abilities, you can definitely do that too. All right, so today we are talking about how to start. So we spent the last 3 days getting everybody ready to go, and we had lots of people saying in the comment sections of those last 3 days, how do I start? Where do I begin? Well, we're in luck. Today we are talking about just that, where to start, how to start, all of those really fun things that can be a little overwhelming at the beginning, but we are here to help you through it. So we are going to talk about transitioning through from a dry food to a raw food. We're going to talk about the difference between going all in or just adding a little bit. We did kind of touch on that in the myths video that we did, but I wanted to touch on it again. And then we're going to go over some of our tips that we have. I've transitioned my cats over to a fully raw diet, so I'm going to go over some of the things that helped me, and then some general things that we can offer as tips for you guys when you're on your journey to raw. So first, transition. If you have been to our physical location in Regina, you will know what I'm holding, which is a transition card. So it's a little helpful guideline that we like to give out to pet parents, regardless of what they're switching to. Maybe they're just switching dry brands, maybe they are mixing in a little bit of this or a little bit of that. We give out our transition card, just a little, I know it will be backwards for you, so I'm very sorry about that, but the fractions should stay the same. So I'll just hold it up. I got Facebook and TikTok, so if you see me putting it up or showing side to side, that's what I'm doing. So we usually recommend a 7-day transition. Starting at day 1 and 2, we would do 3/4 of the old food and 1/4 of the new. Then day 3 and 4, we'll do half and half. Then day 5 and 6, mostly new food, 1/4 old food, and then we will have fully transitioned on day 7. So this is, of course, general guideline. All pets are different. Some pets are pickier. Some pets will pick out the new stuff because they want to get at it already and they're sick of the old stuff. So every pet is different, and we can always play around with these numbers. This is just a really easy and great guideline that we generally recommend for switching over. So I just wanted to show that quick because I like visuals, so maybe you guys like visuals too. So when we showed the pics, when I showed the transition card, when we go from a dry to dry diet, it can seem like a no-brainer to do 3/4 of the old dry and 1/4 of the new dry, and then half and half. We did touch a little bit on this myth that you can't mix raw and kibble together. So that is a myth. We can definitely mix dry and raw together. We can do that full transition period. Mixing is really, really important for our pets when we're transitioning because it's scary. If I ate, we give this example all the time, if I ate McDonald's every single day, I was having a burger every single day of the week, 24/7, every single meal, and then somebody gave me a piece of celery, I would probably not want to eat that piece of celery. That would be a huge shock if you just started giving me celery and I had no more burgers ever again. That can be really scary. But if I had a burger with a tiny little bite of celery, okay, I'll have that bite of celery. Then the next day, you're like, here's a little bigger chunk of celery. Okay, and then the next day, maybe I have a whole stalk. And then by the end of the week, I'm eating pounds of celery every single day. I don't think that will happen in real life, but we'll never know. We'll never know. So yeah, going slow is really important. Mixing in, taking the time to give them a little bit of wiggle room, basically. You can do mostly they're dry and just add a little bit of topper for the first little bit, adding it as a snack or a treat throughout the day, just getting them used to the change. Raw is, of course, wet. It is a raw meat. It is smellier, and it will most of the time be cold because we're taking it right out of the fridge and feeding. So we got to think about temperature, texture, and taste. the different proteins that we are offering up to our pups. So those are the three main things that we want to talk about when we're talking about transition: temperature, texture, and taste, or the protein. Temperature can be one of the biggest shocks, that we're coming to our pets and offering something that's cold. We're coming right out of the fridge and they're used to a room temperature scoop from a bag. That can be a super big change and super scary for our pets. So we can definitely, like everything else, our transition from an old food to a new food is nice and slow. So our transition from a room temperature to a fridge temperature can also be nice and slow. A great tip that we have for the temperature is to bring out food and let it sit at room temperature for about 30 minutes and then feed. So we're not leaving it out all day. We talked about food safe handling yesterday. It is raw food, so we don't want to leave that at room temperature. We don't want to do the bad things. We don't want Nicole to come and find us and and let us know what we're doing wrong. We want to follow those food safe steps, but we can bring it to a more desirable temperature for them. And then, just like the hamburger and the celery, we can slowly get it closer and closer to fridge temperature. Maybe the next week we're only leaving it out for about 15 minutes to get to temperature. And then the next week we're only leaving for about 10 to 5 minutes to get to temperature. And then by the end of it, we are pulling it out of the fridge, dishing it up, and serving without any issues. Texture is the second one that I wanted to talk about. So texture is a super big issue for my kitties. I know when I was transitioning over, it can be a super big issue for some pets who aren't known to be garberators. Some pets will eat anything and everything that they can find, but texture can be a big issue. We're coming from something hard and crunchy and moving over to something soft and quite high in moisture. So that can be quite a change for them. That can be something that maybe we don't often think about as a factor that we have to consider, but even within raw food, the different textures are really important. So I know from feeding lots of different proteins to my kitties, beef versus rabbit has completely different texture. I've said this before, rabbit and those really lean proteins end up being super sinewy, super rippable, I guess you could call it, which is super gross. But all those different textures can be, that your pet could have a preference. Maybe they really like the super mushy things. Maybe they really like the super rippy, sinewy things. Bailey said a couple of days ago that her pups love soup, and soup is a super hit at her house. So if your pets love it a little bit soupier, make it a little bit soupier. You don't have to force them into eating something that they don't want to eat, and you don't have to have a vision of what the perfect meal is, because the perfect meal for your pet is what they like, and we want to give them what they like. So I feed my one cat everything under the sun, and I feed my other cat the rabbits and the kangaroos and the other sinewy, horribly gross things, and Bailey soupifies all of her dishes. So keep texture in mind when we're moving over. We can also add in toppers and stuff, which we will cover in the tip section in a little bit. But toppers, you can add in their old food as a topper. You can add in something crunchy, but still less processed, like an alternative to raw, like a dehydrated raw or a freeze-dried raw. You can add those things on top. Give it a little bit of crunch, give it a little bit of texture change, so we don't just have a bowl of soup, or we don't just have a bowl of mush. We have a bowl of exciting, multiple texture options for them. We talk a lot about adding in fresh food from the fridge, so that's another option. If you're cutting up a carrot or celery or fruits, you can definitely add those into the bowl, especially if we have a pup or a kitty who really likes those fresh things. Adding that to the bowl, giving them something to look forward to when they see their dish, and doctoring it up. Be a mad scientist. Have the bowl in front of you and go for it. Make that thing that they're going to be super excited to eat at the end of the day, and keep it exciting. I know that when we talk about puppies and kitties, when they're really young, we do want to rotate through textures very frequently, so we don't get those hard and fast food versions. If we're feeding the same thing over and over, our pets can get accustomed to it, and then that's when we get those super picky kitties and those super picky puppies that won't eat anything except the thing that they are comfortable with, and it can be a little bit harder to open up their horizons later in life. So as kittens, as puppies, give them that texture availability, give them some crunch, give them some mush, give them some soup, give them all of these different amazing things, and then they'll not only get better nutrition from that because we're rotating through all of these different options, but we'll also give them the joy of loving their food. I know humans, me, I love to have a different thing every day. I don't like to eat the same thing every day, and I like to try new things. So try new things with your pets too. And our third thing to consider is taste or protein. So kind of talked about that in relation to texture, but that can also be a taste thing. Different proteins taste different. Different proteins can appeal to different pets more or less. Maybe you have a pup who loves fish and will devour everything fish. Maybe you have a pup who doesn't really care for fish. Maybe they have a fish aversion. Maybe they won't eat any fish things. So when we're transitioning, we really want to take into account what we know they like and what we know they hate. Because if we try switching over to raw and we have a pup who hates fish and we start with a raw fish recipe, we're not setting them up to have a very good time switching over to that raw meal. Just like in my example, from burgers to celery. I hate celery. I do not like it. You couldn't pay me to eat it. I really, really do not like it. But if you confronted me with corn, oh my goodness, yes, of course, I'd love a cob of corn. Oh, you want me to eat corn instead of burgers? Well, okay, maybe after a little while. So same with our pets. We don't want to try and switch them over to something that we know that they will not try or we know that they won't like. On the same vein, when we're thinking about those three things, we're thinking about temperature, texture, and taste. We'll also think about going slow with those three or doing one at a time instead of trying to do all three things at once. That can look like starting with changing the protein or keeping the protein the same and changing the other two. Something that I typically recommend, and that what I did with my own kitties, was I started with whatever they were eating in the other, one second here, whatever they were eating in the other food or the food that I was trying to transition them off of, I stuck with that. They were on, I believe, a poultry recipe in what they were currently eating. So I started with poultry in raw, and I started them on chicken and turkey and duck, and I kept that very consistent. So I'm not shocking them with a fish or with a beef or something that they've never tried before. Start with one thing at a time, which can really be super beneficial for them to not feel like everything in their whole life is changing and their whole world is crumbling and everything's crashing down because you've changed them to something that's cold and it's kind of soupy and they hate fish. They're definitely going to show some reservation or some friction when you're trying to give them something new. So we want to give them points and stepping stones along the way where they feel comfortable taking that next step. I generally try, whenever I'm trying a new brand or I'm trying a new food or something like that with my kitties, I always try and get their favorite in it. So for my older cat Alex, I always try and get him something rabbit in something new because I know that he loves rabbit, and the likelihood of him rejecting the new food if it's rabbit is infinitesimally small. My other kitty really has no preference except texture, so I try and keep something that sticks with a little bit softer, a little bit more soupy for my other kitty. So we all know our pets really well. You know your pets better than I know your pets. So keep those things in mind when you're trying to switch up what you're doing. Keep in mind those preferences for temperature, texture, and taste, and keep something consistent while you're moving through, and slowly work through those three until you've completely transitioned over to fully raw or over to a new brand or whatever your raw goal for this week is. I have a happy Easter, everyone, from Catherine. Happy Easter. Happy to see you over on our Facebook side. But yeah, I think I covered everything for the transition section. If anybody had any questions about that, don't be afraid to put them down below, and we will try and get to them. But next up, we have tips. So our tips, our tricks, our insights into what we believe would be some great information for you guys if you're just starting out. The first tip is, well, it's kind of a two-parter. So we'll start with the first part. You can definitely feed partially raw, partially dry. We went over that before a little bit earlier in the video, but you can definitely mix part of the diet having raw. Any bit of raw is better than no raw. Adding in all that fresh stuff is going to be awesome for them. We have Charity says, my dog eats everything and anything and everything. That's awesome. That's good. You are very lucky to have a garburator pup, is what people generally call those pets. Most of the times I hear people with labs have pups who love to eat everything. They don't care. It's food. They'll put it in their mouths. Now where was I? I got sidetracked thinking about dogs. Typical for me. Transitioning. You can definitely mix and match and add a little bit of raw. You don't have to go all the way to fully raw if you don't want to. We just want to let everyone know that getting those benefits from raw has to come from a majority diet of raw. If we want less stools, if we want less smelly stools, if we want better skin and coat, and we want to see those big changes, those changes quicker, we will want to transition over to fully raw or mostly raw and just top with the other things. But it's next tip, it's never too early and never too late to start on raw. So I started my one cat on raw when he was already an adult, and I started my second kitty on raw when she was still a kitten. So it's never too late to switch over. It's never too late to boost their bowl or start getting them acquainted with new things. You can definitely teach an old dog new tricks, or feed an old dog new food. Like I said earlier, it can be a little bit more difficult because they might be stuck in their ways with the temperature, texture, and taste of the food, but we can definitely give them that opportunity at any stage to have something a little bit new. I have frozen carrots and given it to him as a treat to keep him busy. That's super cute. To get something right out of the freezer. Then your pup sounds like maybe wouldn't have too much trouble with the temperature aspect. That's a really great way to test out the temperature that I never actually thought of. So thank you, Charity. Once again, the comment section is keeping me on my toes and in line. Starting with frozen treats out of the freezer, or I do give my kitties frozen ice cubes of goat milk or bone broth. So testing out those frozen treats before we get into that whole temperature mess of raw food would be a really, really great option. So yeah. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Hello. Of course, every time we go live, it gets super busy in here, and one of us has to run away from the live. But yeah, I'll keep everyone and Bailey posted. We just finished talking about our transitioning, talking about temperature, texture, and taste.
Yes.
And we had a commenter say that their pup loves frozen carrots right out of the freezer.
Oh,
so,
yes. My dogs love frozen blueberries.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Way better than fresh ones. Oh, works better for me.
Yes, you don't have to go buying blueberries every week.
Blueberries are expensive.
So yeah, I was just saying that sound like that's something I never thought of, but that could be a really awesome and simple way to test how your pup does with temperature before you have to worry about bringing some raw out of the fridge. You already know maybe that's not a sticking point and we can focus on the other areas.
Yep. We always recommend, like, if someone's buying bone broth and they know they're not going to go through it in that 7 to 10 day period, we always recommend freezing that into ice cubes. So even testing out like your leftover bone broth in ice cube form is a way that you can see if they like stuff that's frozen.
Yeah. We are on to our tips about raw bones, which can make a really great transition piece. If we didn't want to commit or start with a box of raw, we can start adding in those meal replacement bones, see how our pets do. We wanted to kind of go over the differences between a recreational bone and a meal replacement bone. Do we have another good comment?
Yeah, her and her hubby go hunting, and after getting a deer, they freeze the leg and give it to their dog, which is awesome. I'm sure that is a great treat. I'm sure your dog loves that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What an amazing segue into recreational versus meal replacement bones. So a leg is a weight-bearing bone, so that would be considered a recreational bone. It's something that our pups are not meant to eat in its entirety. They will not eat the femur of that animal. They will eat the meat all around it. They'll go for the marrow inside it and they'll gnaw on it a bit, but it is not meant to be eaten in its entirety. These are like a deer leg or a
marrow bone,
beef knuckle,
yeah.
Beef knuckle. Yeah, those things.
The bones like that.
The bones like that. Yeah, definitely. Those are recreational bones. They make really good distraction pieces for our pups.
Yeah, they're great during the winter if we want to send our dog outside. We don't want to get, I've said this almost every single day this week, I get the ick. I get the ick about raw meat. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. And so I like to give them to my dogs outside because then I'm not like as weird about sanitizing my whole entire house from top to bottom after they have had it. And so it's just a nice option to be able to give it outside. If it is cold enough during the winter, if they leave that bone outside, well, no big problem because it's going to stay frozen, especially in Saskatchewan when it's minus 50 outside.
Yeah, so those are awesome and great ways to start our pups and our kitties getting used to raw meat, because that outside of the bone has some raw goodness on it.
This transitions into the next part perfectly. What bones are meant to be eaten fully, Lee?
Oh my gosh, what bones are meant to be eaten fully? Well, those would be meal replacement bones, our second type of bone we wanted to talk about. So meal replacement bones are the bones that we can not eat. No. The bones that our pets can eat in their entirety, things like a whole sardine,
chicken neck, a turkey neck, chicken feet.
The things that they can completely consume. Meal replacement bones are a bit of a step up if we are thinking about adding in some raw meaty bones as a first step to raw, because a whole sardine has the eyes, the gills, the scales. Whole quail have some feathers on them and all of the organs inside. Ew.
Lee, tell me you're grossed out without telling me that you are grossed out. Lee is a vegan, so talking about raw meat and whole animals isn't really her jam.
No, not really. My cats love it, and my cats are carnivores, and I fully support their decisions. But yeah, it is pretty gross. But those are meal replacement bones, and those can be really awesome to add in to their diet, both as supplementary, like maybe your pet loves fishy things and we want to give them a little extra fish, we want to give them a little bit of extra omega oils. Whole sardines are an awesome way to boost any bowl regardless of what we're feeding, because any raw is better than no raw, so you don't have to worry about if you're feeding a fully dry diet. You can still add in those sardines.
Yep, so we have a question. Are chicken bones dangerous for dogs to eat? Bones in general, if they are cooked bones, yes, dangerous.
Do not feed
We say no.
bones.
Cooked bones will splinter, and that is where we get those issues. So if we can stay away from cooked bones, Not if we can. We definitely need to
Yes,
stay away from cooked bones.
We will be staying away.
It is dangerous for our pets, but if you're feeding raw bones that have not been cooked to your dog, they are not dangerous. We just want to make sure that we are feeding an appropriate size bone to our pet. So if any of you have seen Zaner on the lives, we would probably not feed him like a whole big beef knuckle. That might be a little bit too big for him. But for my golden retriever, I wouldn't feed him a bone that Zane would eat. So it's just finding those bones that are an appropriate size for your dog. And that's pretty easy to gauge when you're looking at them. You'll know sort of what is something that your dog would be able to swallow whole, which is what we definitely do not want, and something that they would be able to gnaw on and you wouldn't have any issues with.
Carly said on Monday that if we can get a bone the size of the head, then we are avoiding that choking hazard. So if it's their whole size of their head, they won't be able to fit it in their mouths and down their gullets. So we will have a safe bone in that sense. But yeah, next we have some add-ins, which kind of goes into... The live is going to get tired of me trying to open this booklet. But which goes into some of our benefits of a boosted bowl. We already talked a little bit about sardines. Sardines are a meal replacement because they are the whole animal and completely digested. They are a really great way to add omegas into the diet. We always recommend adding in some sort of omega oil or omega supplement into the pet's diet when we're feeding raw.
Even when we're not feeding raw.
Yes, definitely.
Even if you are feeding a freeze-dried or a kibble or a raw alternative, feeding a fish oil or an omega into the diet is super important. It is not just for raw. It is not just for if you want to focus on skin and coat. It is fantastic for your dogs no matter what you are feeding. We highly, 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 highly recommend it.
We can't recommend it enough, honestly.
Would you say dehydrated bones like duck feet and tracheas and it being actual raw is different?
So we did talk about on Tuesday, we reiterated that when we're talking about raw here, we're talking about things we find in the freezer. Yes. Anything that is shelf stable in a bag that has been dehydrated, gone under some processing, or dried, or freeze dried, or cooked, anything like that. Not what we're talking about today. We're talking about completely raw, something that in food safe terms from yesterday has to be in the freezer and then has to stay in the fridge once we bring it out. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about raw bones and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're not going to get the same benefits from a dehydrated bone or anything like that. You're just not going to get the same benefits you would from a raw meaty bone. Not that there's anything wrong with giving dehydrated treats. We love a good dehydrated treat here, so there's nothing wrong with it. You are definitely not doing anything wrong feeding them that, but it is just a bit of a difference in terms of the benefits that you're going to get from it if you're feeding a raw bone from the freezer.
Yeah. The next thing that we can add to a bowl is an egg. Chicken egg, a quail egg. Really, really great additions to the bowl. Really easy and cost-effective way to boost any bowl. And a great meal balancer to make that meal nice and balanced. They can eat the shells. That inner membrane of the egg is super, super healthy for them, and they can eat everything in between. Some pets don't like the shells. My kitties hate the shells, but if your pet likes the shells, go for it.
It's hit or miss in my house.
Yeah.
My two big dogs, Sam and Tucker, they will eat the shells, no problem. And my little dog, Ace, who's picky, I've said that 100 times. Ace is very picky. He'll chew the shell, and then he spits it back out and just eats the rest of it because he's gross.
Pets are gross most of the time.
But we love them so much.
We also have, next on the list is goat's milk and bone broth, which we did talk about our hydration benefit when we move over to raw, but that doesn't mean that we can't add in extra. All the hydration is better than none of the hydration. I always add in some sort of extra hydration into my kitty's meal. We went over this, I always go over this. I'm totally a broken record when I say this, but kitties need hydration in their food. So if we can, even if we're feeding a raw diet, still add in a little bit of something for them, get them hydrated. They suck at drinking water, and the more we can put in their food, the better. We also talked about soup. If the pet doesn't like soup, you don't have to go the full soup route. But definitely if we want to add bone broth or goat's milk in for hydration purposes, even into a raw diet, super, super awesome.
We do soup in our house. It's a soupy meal household. It's gross. It sounds like they're drinking their meals, which they love. I leave the room they're eating because it does not sound appealing.
But yeah, goat's milk is also really great as a tummy tamer during our transition from a dry to a raw. A really natural tummy tamer, full of pre and probiotics, especially if we can get in a kefir, which is a fermented goat's milk, even more active bacterial cultures in a kefir as opposed to just a regular goat's milk. Either way, can boost that gut microbiome, help with the digestion of that new food, help keep the tummy tame, especially with a pup who maybe is predisposed or has a history with upset stomachs. Maybe we want to give that little extra boost. And then bone broth, which is just overall really great for the joints, really great in helping detox the liver, which is when we get those bad tear stains in the corner of our eyes. That can be really helpful for the body. So yeah, I mix and match.
Yeah, we do too. I have all of the dehydrated ones. We have beef, the goat's milk, and the turkey, and Charlie gets to pick. My 2-year-old daughter gets to pick which one we feed to the dogs. And so every mealtime she goes into the pantry and she picks one, and that is what the dogs get. So she is the keeper of the milks and the broths.
Wow, that's a high
I
honor.
know, she's really lucky.
I think we covered most of our tips.
Yeah, I missed a lot of what was talked about today, so I don't know.
But yeah, I wanted just to give a little, I said I would talk a little bit about my kitties who came from a highly processed diet, and I transitioned them over to a fully raw diet. The biggest thing for my cats was texture and taste. Temperature, they didn't really care whatsoever about the temperature. But I did go really slow on the texture and the taste of the food, sticking with things that they like, moving them through really slowly. We give that 7-day transition card, but really, it can take weeks, it can take months, it can take a really long time, especially if we're coming from a fully processed diet to a completely unprocessed diet. It can take a long time to get rid of that addiction to sugar. We go over this a lot with our pellets of ick. Pellets of ick. So there's so many carbs. Carbs turn to sugar. Sugar feeds disease. Sugar is also addictive. I love sugar. I love chocolate. I love sweets. I love snacks and candies. And it's addicting. And I would pick a chocolate bar probably over a salad every single day, any day of the week.
Yep.
So will our pets. So it can take them to some time to get over that sugar addiction, to get over that addiction to their highly processed food, and realize that the good stuff we're giving them is good and it is tasty, and they will eventually like it, and we can rest assured that we're making the right decision for our pets when we're boosting their meal.
So we've got some questions. The first one was, is a dehydrated bone still good for the teeth?
I would say the best thing for the teeth is a raw, meaty, recreational bone.
Yep.
Beef marrow bone is super awesome for the teeth. Bone in general has plaque softening enzymes in it, but our pets, like we've talked about, don't have the same mandibles as we do. They don't grind back and forth. They grab, rip, and swallow. So when we're giving them something that they cannot eat in its entirety, they have to gnaw on that bone. That gives their teeth the ability to brush themselves. Obviously, we always recommend brushing with a toothbrush and some pet safe toothpaste every single day as often as we can. But in terms of what kind of bone are we talking about when we're talking about dental health, we're talking about recreational weight-bearing bones.
What do we think of insect-based food?
I don't have a lot of knowledge about insect-based foods. I know the owner Carly has seen lots of different varieties of insect-based foods and insect formulas.
Our big thing is that our dogs and cats are meant to eat meat, and they're not going to get the same protein and everything that they would need from the insect food, which means there's going to be a lot more additives, a lot more vitamins and minerals that aren't naturally in there. So if we can find a food where they're going to be getting all of those things without us having to add a whole bunch of stuff into it, that is what we would recommend. If you are feeding an insect food, I would recommend going onto the website and doing the Rate My Kibble and just sort of see how it compares to a traditional food, and you'll get a bit of a better idea. We personally in the store don't sell the insect ones. Everything that we sell is protein based. So again, I would just go onto the website if that's what you're feeding, do the Rate My Kibble and sort of see where it rates.
Yeah, just like everything else, when we get asked questions about specific brands or specific things, it's all on a case-by-case basis. Make sure the place that you're coming from is reputable, high quality, and super transparent. We just want to make sure that we're making the right decisions for our pets, and we have all the information and nobody's hiding any information from us. We want that full transparency.
Yes, exactly. I see Catherine said Happy Easter. Happy Easter, Catherine. And for anyone who follows us on a regular basis, and if you were here yesterday watching, Nicole, who was here doing the videos yesterday, it is Nicole's birthday today.
Oh
so
yeah, happy
anyone
birthday.
that sees Nicole, if you are in Regina and you see Nicole out and about today, wish her a happy birthday, or head over to our Facebook or Instagram and wish her a happy birthday on our post for her.
Yep.
But it is her birthday today. She is off. She is hanging out with Boyer, and we all wish her the best birthday ever.
Yes, yes. Boyer will be very happy, I'm sure, to have his mom at home all day.
I think Boyer likes to celebrate. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
that.
Boyer's a party animal. Major party animal.
I'm sure he's having a good day with his mom today.
We have a question. Are we answering questions? Yes. Right
Yes.
now we are in the Q&A period. So
Yes.
if you have any questions, let us know. We will be on for a little bit longer answering questions.
And if there's no questions, we'll just ramble because that's what we're good at.
Yes, very, very good at it.
If you have questions, now is the time to ask. If you don't want to just hear us talking, to hear ourselves talk, now would be the time to ask questions.
But yeah,
Oh, it is beautiful out today.
it is
I'm
so
so
nice.
happy.
What do you think about mixing raw and kibble? So, do it. Go for it. We love it. Any amount of raw is better than no raw. Do you think we say that a couple
lot?
times?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Is it
don't know.
rehearsed?
Like,
I don't know.
just once in a while.
But that would be like us not being able to eat a hamburger because we can't eat the burger and the bun at the same time. We can definitely eat the two at the same time. We're getting all those good benefits of the raw. I did say earlier that to get those long-lasting, noticeable differences like less poop, less stinky poop, a better skin, better coat, we do need to have the majority of the diet be raw. But in general, if we're adding in, go for it. Add in, mix things up, change things up. We talk a lot about food fatigue at House of Paws because we have a lot of pets who come through our door who say, I'm not eating this anymore. What do you mean? I've been fed this for 2 months. I still don't want it. So keeping up that rotation, mixing things up can really help get those pets off of their food fatigue wagon and onto eating once again.
I always say whenever Ace decides he's not going to eat, he sort of looks at me like, I feel like you could probably do better than this. Like somehow I just know what he wants to eat every day. We're supposed to be mind readers.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a question about, do you think we should transition from dry to raw cold turkey? We don't typically recommend transitioning from dry to raw cold turkey.
But if you have a dog that goes into that bowl and gobbles up all of the raw and then looks at their kibble like, I don't think so, I'm not eating this, that's fine too.
Yeah.
We just need to be mindful that we might have a little bit of an upset tummy to watch, which is normal when we're transitioning to a new food.
Yeah.
But we always tell people, don't stress. Don't try and force your dog to eat their food that they were on before. If they are not going to eat it, you cannot force them.
Yeah.
And so don't worry about it. If they want to eat their kibble, they will eat their kibble. And if they only want to eat that raw food, they're only going to eat that raw food. And unfortunately, there is nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah, if you have a dog like Charity earlier who eats anything and everything, and you think they would be fine to switch over to the new food, go for it. I mean, transition is typically best because we are giving their bodies some time to transition over to the new thing, but every pup is different, and you know your pet, and we know our pets, and we can make those kind of decisions about transitioning.
So this one was what you think about mixing raw and kibble for digestion and pH purposes.
So that kind of covered the pH difference in that we can eat a burger and a bun at the same time.
Yep.
The gut acidity and our pets' guts are different than our acidity. We have very long, windy digestive tracts. They have a very short, acidic digestive tract, which can handle raw food in the same way that we can handle eating a burger with a bun and meat in it at the same time. They can handle those two as well.
Lee, what do you recommend for dogs with allergies?
Well, so happy you asked. I recommend raw food for dogs with allergies. Raw food, which we talked about a little bit on Tuesday, I believe, that raw gives you much greater options, more options for protein rotation, for isolated proteins. When we're feeding and this isn't a steadfast rule, I'm not saying this concretely, but lots of dry foods mix proteins. Lots of dry foods, especially commercially based foods, have a lot of chicken in them, even if they don't say they're chicken. Maybe they are lamb and rice, not naming names, but lots of those lamb and rice blends have chicken fat in them, because chicken is really cheap and really easy to add in as a protein source.
Yep.
Lots of raw food, all the raw food that we have has really awesome recipes that isolate out those proteins. When we're feeding a chicken dinner, we're feeding a chicken dinner. When we're feeding a beef dinner, we're feeding a beef dinner. Lamb, quail, bison.
So on and so forth.
So yeah, I don't have to go through all of them.
And
or do I?
There's more, I would say there's a wider variety of rare proteins when it comes to
Yes.
raw. We have quail, we have bison, we have kangaroo, we have duck, we have rabbit. So you get a bit of a bigger option in terms of those more rare proteins that you could be feeding your pet that you don't necessarily have with every brand of kibble or dehydrated or what have you.
Yeah. Lots of raw also has pure formulas. We carry a lot of pures in store, so that is a unbalanced meal. It is only the meat of a specific type. So we have things like pure rabbit and pure kangaroo and pure duck, which are isolated. They don't have any other add-ins. So when we're doing elimination diets or we're trying to figure out an allergy, we can start on something that we know. Probably kangaroo is something that you can definitely try if you have a dog with a lot of allergies, because the likelihood they're allergic to kangaroo is pretty low. Start on something that is very, very simple, that is one ingredient or very, very few ingredients, and then start to build back in that repertoire. We can isolate that allergy. So that's why we recommend.
So we've got some good questions here.
Okay.
I like these. Good
job.
questions, people. About how long is the detox period when starting to feed raw? I would say it varies from dog to dog.
Yeah. A couple weeks to a few months. It will take longer than a day.
Yes.
Definitely longer than a day.
And every dog is so different. Every dog is going to react to different foods differently. So the detox period for your dog could be about a week. The detox period for someone else's dog could be about 2 weeks. The whole transition period in terms of that up and then that down and then that sort of leveling out is about a month, generally speaking. So that's what you can sort of expect, that within that month time frame, you'll see things get really, really good, you'll see things get kind of bad, and then things will sort of level out where you won't be seeing any of those issues anymore. So I would say rule of thumb, you're probably looking at about a month for that detox period.
Yeah, and it definitely depends on what we're starting with before we move over to dry. If we're on a really highly processed kibble, probably gonna bet on a longer detox period. But if we're on a raw alternative dry, or we're on a very low processed dry and we move over to raw, we probably won't see as many issues because we aren't transitioning from something completely on the other side of the spectrum.
Did it take more than 7 days for your pets to transition foods? From our personal experience, so when I transitioned my dogs from, I hate that these words are even going to come out of my mouth, we were feeding a commercial kibble, and when we switched to open farm, we did not do a transition period. My dogs would not eat their other food anymore. They only ate the open farm, and so we went straight to the new food. We did a bit of a cold turkey. We had some tummy upset, but it is what it is. We expected it. When we transitioned to carnivore, we did do the 7-day transition period, and that seemed to go over fine. We didn't have any issues with them only eating one or the other. And now we are completely on the carnivore. We feed raw every once in a while. Again, a little bit is better than none. And so we do it once in a while, but it's not an all the time thing, because as I mentioned yesterday, I am absolutely the worst at remembering to get things out of the freezer. If I fed my dogs raw, they would starve because food would never get taken out of the freezer. But our transition period when we were going from open farm to carnivore was about a 7-day period. When you transitioned to raw, what did yours look like? Because kitties are a little bit different.
Yes, so my cats took months and months and months and months, and it was a chore. It sucked. I felt terrible, especially when my cat went on a hunger strike and begged every single member of my household, "Where's my old food? Meow, 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 meow." And I'm like, "Here's your new food. Please, dear God, eat the new food." So it did take a long time for my older cat to transition, which is common for older pets to have a longer transition period. My kitten that I got at weeks old, shit, easy peasy, day, 2 days, 1 week, just totally fine, totally happy, had the best time of her life. If only they were the same cat, but I love both of them equally for their differences.
Alex said, "No way you're giving me new food."
Yeah, no, Alex, he's the boss, okay? He's the boss of my house.
Do you recommend, oh no, where did it go?
Oh no, we pulled a Carly.
Oh gosh.
We lost all of the comments.
Gosh. Do you recommend alternating between different frozen raw food brands from time to time? Yes, we do.
Yes.
That is amazing. There are different proteins between different brands. Like, for example, our Bold by Nature, we don't have a kangaroo formula. And so with our Big Country Raw, then we do have that kangaroo. So being able to rotate between the different brands is so fantastic. You're giving your dog, you're going from a variety this big to a variety this big. And that's so awesome. The more variety you can give your pets, the better. So rotating between those different brands of raw is fantastic, as long as we're making sure that it is a reputable, transparent brand, that we do know the quality of meat that we're using. So just make sure that we're making sure we're using good brands, that we like what's in there.
Yep. All brands also have different textures. So try out a bunch of different brands. If you tried a brand and your pup was like, not happening, try a new brand. It could be a different texture. And I hate to be the pessimist in the room, but if by some horrible accident, one of the brands that you're feeding goes out of business or recalls every single piece of their food and you have nothing to feed your pet, that's a disaster. You need to be able to feed your pet. So we want to have all these brands, a bunch of brands that our pets will eat, so that in the case of a food emergency, we can transition super easily to only feeding the one thing. We don't have to worry about what happens in the case that my pessimistic mind is true.
Don't say things like that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Knock on wood. Ideas for something to clean my dog's teeth who had a couple broken teeth and surgery.
Aww.
Well, I'm sorry for your pupper. With broken teeth and surgery. Poor baby.
Best thing for teeth is brushing. I would recommend brushing twice a day, once a day, as many times as you can. Brushing is the best way that we can clean our pets' teeth, getting every single tooth around every single area, keeping that plaque at bay is super, super important for our pets. Even if we're feeding a really low processed food like a raw, which already has bone in it, which helps to break down the teeth. We're already giving recreational bones because we're giving them that nature's toothbrush, and we're cutting back on all those sugary foods which feed disease, feed that gingivitis, feed those issues with the teeth. You can still brush all the time.
Yep, and if we have a dog who doesn't like us sticking our fingers in their mouth or sticking a toothbrush in their mouth, there are other options. There's gels that you can use that we drop in the back of the mouth and they lick it around and it cleans their teeth. There's additives that we can put into their water that clean their teeth.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different options. Brushing is going to be like, best way you can go to ensure that their teeth are getting a really good clean. But don't feel like if you can't brush them, you're not going to be able to do anything for them. There are plenty of other options to get those teeth nice and clean.
Yes. On our YouTube channel, we do have quite a few dental videos and tips that we have, and we also have a blog on our website that has lots of dental tips as well if you wanted some extra information.
There was a question if we knew anything about the brand Small Batch. I have never heard of that.
I have heard of it. I don't know enough about it to comment on it, but as we always say, we have what grade is my kibble. If it is a kibble, you can go onto our website and grade that kibble, and then if not, I always recommend reaching out to companies. If you reach out and you get somebody and they really care about their business and they want to give you all the deets, that speaks volumes to me. We want a transparent company that can give us all of that information.
Carly says Small Batch is awesome. They are not a kibble.
Perfect.
So
that Small Batch is
they are awesome.
We are getting insider knowledge from outside of the store.
Yeah.
Small Batch.
Carly gives us all the things. We learn all the things from Carly. It's frozen and freeze-dried raw, but think they're based in California. I don't know if they ship to Canada. Well, we will do our research on it so that if anyone asks us ever again, we will know all of the stuff and things.
Small Batch is awesome.
Yeah.
As quoted.
As quoted. In quotes, it is awesome.
Many exclamation points, by the way. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And of course, we've lost where we were. So we.
No, you were in the right spot down here.
Good. I'll stop touching the iPad now.
Is garlic Jeez Louise. Is garlic okay for dogs? An all-natural flea and tick product I want to try has it in it.
Yes. So we did some myth busting, not in the raw feeding week, but a couple weeks ago, we did full-on myth busting, and one of the myths we busted was that garlic is bad for dogs. So garlic is safe for dogs. You can definitely give a all-natural flea and tick preventative. That is, especially with spring coming, that is a super big topic that we are seeing and we want to educate people on is flea and tick season, seasonal allergy season.
Maybe next Friday. We'll touch on that in our Furry Friday. You'll just have to wait and see.
But yeah, garlic is safe for pets. We can definitely give that garlic alternative. I mean, if there's nothing else bad in it. If we were just worried about the garlic.
Okay. I think, Do you guys have your pets on flea and tick and heartworm preventatives? I personally do not. For flea and tick season, I use anything that's all natural that I can use. We have amber colors here, which are fantastic for flea and tick. We have the tickless, which comes in a human form also, which is so super cool.
Yeah, super cool.
And it just sort of hooks onto their collar or their leash or whatever you want to put it on, and it is going to keep those ticks and all those yucky nasty bugs away. Carly says you can check out the blog on natural flea and tick options.
Yep.
So there is a blog for those natural flea and tick options, but like I said, I don't have my pets on anything specifically from the vet or anything like that. And as for heartworm, we had done some research the other day. There are some all-natural things that we can do for heartworm as well.
In prevention terms.
Yes, but it is actually super rare for your dog to get heartworm. There has to be a perfect alignment of a whole bunch of things to happen for your dog to get heartworm, which basically you have to have the perfect storm of all of these things to sort of line up in place for your pet to get it. And so yeah, I don't give my dogs anything for them. We just try and stay as safe as we can during that flea and tick season with any of the all-natural remedies that we have.
But yeah, definitely check out our blog. We've got lots of stuff there on all of the questions and all of the things. And check out our YouTube channel because we have video versions of all of those things as well that you could definitely check out if you would like. I think we answered all of those questions that you guys had.
I'll scroll through again. I hope everyone doesn't mind seeing my face up close in the camera.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much for spending another live day with us. We've had a really awesome time going live 4 days this week.
There's one more question.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about giving antlers as chews?
I'll have to do some extra research on that. We don't carry antlers in store right now.
We have like lamb horns, which I've used with my dogs before, and
which are fully digestible.
Yep. I have used them. My dogs really like them. They're a little bit smelly, but so is most of the things that they chew on. So that is nothing new if you have a dog having things that they chew on that are a little bit stinky. I would say the biggest thing is just making sure that it's something that's 100% digestible. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be giving them anything that their body cannot digest. So as long as we are looking on the packaging or whoever we are talking to that it is a product that can be fully digested, I would say we're probably pretty good to go with it. It's just doing the research on the brand that you're purchasing it from.
Antlers are very, very, very hard, and there is a chance to fracture. We have Carly on the line again. We've called a friend. Potential to fracture those chompers with antlers, which is why we don't carry them, because we don't want to take that risk. Something like a lamb horn is softer, is fully digestible, so we're staying on the safe side and avoiding those risks.
Or a water buffalo, like we have the water buffalo horns.
Yeah.
It's just going to be finding what works best for your dog. There's lots of options out there for softer horns and things like that for your dog to chew on.
We have Majestic Moose, love the name by the way, is coconut oil good to use as toothpaste? My dog loves it better than regular paste. Yes, coconut oil is awesome for the teeth. It is a really great option. I know Dr. Karen Becker has a tutorial, a toothpaste recipe using baking soda and coconut oil, which are just 2 ingredients, super easy, gives the parts to part ratio on how to make it. But yeah, Nicole's dog Boyer also loves coconut, wants to just eat the toothpaste and not do the toothbrushing part. And my cats also love coconut. I've tried all of the pet safe toothpaste with my cats, but most of them have fish flavoring in them and they hate that. So adding just a really simple recipe straight from your cupboard probably is awesome.
Ooh, I like this question. Powder, seeds, and oils, do you mix them into the food or throw them on top? If you are feeding powders, we want to make sure that we are putting something in there to hydrate them and mixing them into the food. We don't want that powder going up their nose. They are not going to get any benefits from that.
Go in their belly.
Yes. So we want to make sure we're mixing that into the food. I feed my dogs the sprouted seeds. We do the mixed berries. We do hip and joint. Everything just goes into the bowl with their food. We put some bone broth in there with my little helper, and we mix everything together, and that's how they get their food. So you definitely can mix it all in there. It's not things that have to be fed separately or that you have to do anything special with.
Yeah.
You can just put it right into their bowl and off you go.
In terms of raw feeding, which we're talking about this week, adding in a dry powder to raw food, we can definitely do that without adding in liquid if we can't that day, because that will hydrate and will mix in really well. But if we're adding something dry to a dry food, that's not going to work out so well. So making sure we're mixing in with some moisture.
We've got Carly in both comment sections now. She says even just a cotton swab to clean teeth is beneficial.
Can you feed raw greenlet mussels whole? Well, it's a mussel, and we obviously will only want to feed, in terms of any raw fresh food, we only want to serve the things that we can also eat. So we aren't going to feed the shell, we're only going to feed the meat, because that's what we would eat, same as if we're feeding like raw meat. We're not going to cut the fat off the meat and just give them the fat, because we're not going to eat the fat. We want to give them what we're eating. Same with avocado. We wouldn't eat the pit, they will not be eating the pit. We will not eat the skin, they will not eat the skin. So feeding that greenlet mussel, as Carly is saying, is a go. We just want to make sure that we're only ever feeding something to them that we would eat. Not that we would eat ourselves, because I won't eat greenlet mussel, but that is not the shells, not the pits, all of those things.
Collagen bones, okay for teeth or too hard? We carry collagen sticks.
Yep.
From Open Range. The collagen sticks are good. They are not too hard. We definitely recommend those. I've never seen a collagen bone.
Yeah.
But we, like I said, we have collagen sticks. Those are fantastic. Collagen is very good for your pupper, and so feeding those is. The lady at the raw feeding store told me to give them the shell too.
Okay. Well, I will have to do some extra research on that. I personally have never eaten a mussel myself. I won't be.
Our vegan.
Yeah.
Our vegan over here.
So I'll definitely have to look into that. But yeah, as long as it's fully digestible, they can digest it. So I don't know what else I have to say, because I'm not versed in this. I'm sorry.
Carly, if you are watching and you are in the comments, send help.
We're phoning a friend.
Send help. We're phoning a friend. Can we eat the shells?
But yeah, so
hopefully Carly will reply. I'm sure she's just shaking her head watching us like, yes, we're fired today.
Yeah. What's new?
Oyster shells are used for cleaning teeth. So it
Sounds
is possible. It's possible.
Definitely gonna do some research on
If
that one.
in doubt, just feed the inside. If it worries you at all, just feed the insides. If we want to try the shell, I would say maybe only start with like a piece and see sort of how we do. I wouldn't say just throw them a whole one and say, here you go, if we haven't tried it before. You could definitely try just a little bit and sort of see how your dog does on it and go from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's always a pleasure when Bailey and I are together. We always get to ramble, we get to talk, we get to do all the fun things.
We laugh. I'm sure people watching laugh at us.
Yeah, probably. That's totally fine.
Which is fine. We're used to it. Carly tells us on a regular basis to act normal. And it's just not.
It's too hard. Possible. It's too difficult to act normal. We just can't do it.
We can't do it. We're fired.
But yeah, thank you everybody so much for tuning in. This concludes our raw feeding 101. Impossible. Yes.
It is impossible for us to act normal. It's totally true.
So this concludes our raw feeding 101 semester course. We're so happy you guys were able to tune in. We loved all of the questions. Of course, if you have more questions even after this video is over, you can always give us a call. If you are in Regina, Saskatchewan, come by, stop in store, or we are on Instagram and Facebook regularly. So if you message us on there, we will definitely get back to you with all your questions.
We love replying to everyone's questions. If you wanted us to look into something for you, we can do that. We love it. We do also do phone consultations. So if you ever were really in a pickle, and I just sounded like an 80-year-old woman. If you were ever in a pickle and you really needed some help with your pet, we do those phone consultations. So feel free to reach out to us however you want, and we would be so happy to help you out with whatever you need help with. And I just want to point out that Manda Bear told us that we're funny.
Oh my gosh, thank you! You just saved us from getting fired today.
Yes. Well, we hope that everyone, as we discussed at the beginning, it is Easter for everyone.
Yes, so we are not open tomorrow, but we hope everyone enjoys their day off tomorrow.
Yes, we hope everyone has a fantastic Easter. Enjoy spending some time with your families. We will miss all of the pups at the store tomorrow, but we will be back on Saturday.
Talk about pups.
We have puppies at the store on Saturday. We are so excited. I may or may not be planning to take one home. Please don't tell my husband. He will be very upset that I am bringing home another dog. But if the dog's already at home, there's nothing he can do about it.
No, not really.
So we will have puppies here from CC Rescues, and I'm sure that we'll go live on Saturday to show off the puppies. So if you want to see some super cute pups, stay tuned on Saturday. We will show them off, and then we are closed on Sunday, and we will be back again regular hours on Monday. So we hope everyone has a fantastic Easter weekend, and we will see you all probably on Saturday.
Bye!